What? I'm not doing a tier list. There's so many tier lists out there. I don't even have a subject. Nemesis. I'm not doing a Resident Evil tier list. No way. Fine. I'll do it. Let's do this. Hello, it's me, PJ, aka Shin Rabbit, coming at you with a tier list for Resident Evil, the entire series of games. So, if you've not seen a tier list, I'm pretty much going to rank my favourite to least favourite Resident Evil games. Starting with the top tier being Lord Barry Burton. They're the best of the best. We've got Jill Sandwich. They're the great games. The very good games. You've got Single Green Herb. Now they're okay. There's better, but there's also a lot worse. You've got Shiva's AI. Now they're not great. They're below average games. And the bottom list, the bottom tier, Netflix show. Now these are games that are worse than the Netflix show, and if you've seen that, there's not going to be many, trust me. Right, let's get on with it. Thank you.
Yes, get on with it!
So first on our list is Resident Evil 0. Now this one was on the GameCube. This is a game that starts off very, very good. Unfortunately, I do feel like it gets a little bit worse as the game goes on, but overall it's still a very good game. It takes place before the very first game as well, so that was relatively interesting. It's going to be the first one to go on Single Green Herb. The next game is Resident Evil Umbrella Chronicles. Now this one came out on the Wii. This is an on-rails shooter. It's an okay game. It's fun for a few hours, but overall I would say it's pretty average again. So that will go also in Single Green Herb. Next up is most people's favourite, Resident Evil 4. Now this is on every single console ever made, ever, and it's an amazing game. It's not my favourite. I do have a few more that I like more, but it's the first Jill Sandwich. Resident Evil 2. Now, this game was the game that got me into Resident Evil. I remember playing it when I was a little bit too young. And in fact, I think I have some footage of me playing this as a kid. And I was so scared of the jump cuts when you could hear a zombie. And I think I've got footage. I'll see if I can find it and put it on. "15 years later, they say he still stood there, aiming at that jump cut." Terrifying, absolutely terrifying. But this is the first Lord Barry Burton game. Absolutely incredible. It did everything better than the first game did, in my opinion. There's no other place for it. Next up, Resident Evil 7. Now this game is a class game. The Baker family are terrifying. The atmosphere, the puzzles are very good. I do feel like it lets itself down a little bit when you are fighting the mold, and for me, I don't find them very fun to fight. But overall the game is a very good game, and it is going to go in Jill Sandwich, just behind Resident Evil 4 in my opinion. Now next up is Nemesis, Resident Evil 3 on the PlayStation 1, or GameCube copy as I've got here. I'm not doing ports, this is just the games. I know some ports are better than others, but I'm just doing the games. Out of the original trilogy, I do think that Resident Evil 3 is the worst one, but that doesn't mean it's bad. I think the first one is started the genre off. The second one's an absolute masterpiece. The third one is a brilliant game, but I don't think it's quite as good as those two. But it is still a Jill sandwich. Next up on the list, Resident Evil Village, Resident Evil 8. This is a weird one because I do really enjoy the game and it has some amazing bits in it. Especially the bit where you go into the dollhouse. Now if you've played it you know what I mean. It's up there with PT in my opinion for just scariness. But I do feel as time's gone by that I've seen a lot of problems with it. And there's a lot of things I don't like about the game. But overall I do enjoy it. And it's very high on single green herb. Next up is Code Veronica X on the PlayStation 2. That's what I played it on. I did also play the remake master that came on the PlayStation 4. And I had a good time playing it. It's a very good game. You can see they slowly started to change their formula a little bit with this one. But I enjoy Claire. And that's the only character I really enjoy in this. Chris is okay. Wesker's okay. I can't remember the guy's name now, but he's annoying. But I think this is also top tier of single green herb. Resident Evil Survivor. Now this game is not so good. It really is not. It's a game that when I was at school I had a box version of Dino Crisis on the PlayStation 1. And I swapped it with, I traded it with a friend, and he gave me the disc to Resident Evil Survivor. And I regret that to this day, because I got really ripped off, because Dino Crisis is a lot better. So for this, it's going to be the first Shiva's AI. Or now, the original, the OG, Resident Evil 1. Now, a lot of you might think that this is going to go into Lord Barry Burton because it's the original, but I don't think it is. I think it's a great game, but there's a lot of problems with it. And the second one, I think, just improves on everything. It shows you what this game could be. And then you've got the remake, which I think is better in every way also. But I can't deny how important this game is to the series. And I'm a massive fan of this series, and this game is very important to me too. It's going to go in Jill sandwich, but I think I'm going to put it just before Resident Evil 4, because I do think 4 is better. Now, Dark Side Chronicles. I'm just going to stick this right next to Umbrella Chronicles. It's pretty much a sequel to that. It plays the same. I had it on the Wii also. And yeah, it's interesting to play through some of the older games in a different perspective and gameplay style. But it's nothing special, but it's a good time. Resident Evil Dead Aim is up next, and this one's again similar to Survivor. I do think it's towards the bottom of the series, but I do have a bit of fun playing it, and I will put it above Survivor, but it's still Shiva's AI. Next up is Resident Evil Deadly Silence on the Nintendo DS. Now this is basically a remake to the first one, but you can play it on the DS. It's probably one of the worst ways to play the game, but that's not me saying that it's bad. It's just, if you've got no other options and you're going out camping and you've got your DS, it's fine, it's good. But other than that, I wouldn't play it. It is going to go into Shiva's AI, and I'll pop it in the middle there. Now next up is Resident Evil Gaiden. This one came out on the Game Boy Color, and lucky for you guys, a lot of people probably haven't heard about it, but I'm here to talk game knowledge, Resident Evil knowledge, and I've not played it either. So unfortunately I can't speak about that, so I'm going to leave it right there. Resident Evil 5. Resident Evil 5. Now this is a game that holds so many memories. Oh, the memories. This game is one of my favourite games of all time. It's maybe my favourite Resident Evil game, we'll find out. It's going top right now. Lord Barry Burton. I mean, you've got Chris punching boulders. You've got Shiva's AI. Okay, that sounds like I'm insulting it, but no. This game is very special to me. I played it with my friends back at school. I had this one friend in particular. We must have completed this game 100% on multiple accounts too many times. And even to this day, me and my wife play this game yearly, annually. We sometimes once or maybe 2 or 3 times a year. It is one of my favourite games. And I do understand it's not technically the best. And I know a lot of people aren't going to be happy. But it's my list, my opinion, and it's going number 1 for now. Because we do have Resident Evil Mercenaries on the 3DS coming up, and that might just take the top spot, because this is very average. Very average. It's too small for what it is. It's fun to play on the 3DS. If you like, same with Deadly Silence. If you're going away, it's fun to play similar to Resi 5, but there's not enough content in it for what it is for just a Mercenaries mode. I mean, it's fine. I can't say much more. That one can just go in there. We don't need to talk about that. The less we talk, the better. Now, Resident Evil 2 Remake. Now, I know a lot of people love this, and I'm the same. I don't think it's as good as the original. I will stand by that. But it's still a phenomenal game. Mr. X was fantastic. The graphics, the atmosphere was amazing. And playing Resident Evil 2 as a kid and then reliving it with these gorgeous graphics and scenery and atmosphere, it was brilliant. The zombies were amazing. It was a little bit frustrating that it seemed really random. You shoot them in the head 4 times or once, it didn't seem to matter. They would just, it seemed random. But other than that, it's a phenomenal game, and it is going to go in Jill's sandwich just behind Resi 4. Oh, now this is where I'm going to get the Resident Evil mob banging on my door right now. Operation Raccoon City. People love to hate on this, and I can see why. I really can, because it has a lot of problems. But again, my friend that I played Resident Evil 5 with, we bought Operation Raccoon City, and we finished this so many times again. We played the versus, the co-op, and we really did enjoy it. Now, I haven't really gone back to it for some time, for some years, and maybe if I did, I'd realise the problems. But it's one that I really, really enjoy, and it's going to go into single green herb. I think I'll go just there. Now, a lot of people would put that in the worse than the Netflix show, but I had a lot of fun with it, so if you want to sponsor me, Monster, I'm here. I'm cheap. Next up is Resident Evil Outbreak. This is a game that I was a bit young when I played it, and I didn't have any online features. I don't have PC. I've never been a PC gamer, so I can't get it from there. So the only time that I played this was on my own on the PlayStation 2, and it was still a good game. It was a great game, but I feel like if I had that online aspect to it, it might be higher. But it's still a decent game. I am going to put it on single green herb. And now onto Resident Evil 3, the remake. I was very disappointed. The gameplay was good, the graphics were good. It felt like Resident Evil 2 in that the way it felt, but it's very shallow. And I was very disappointed. It took me about 4 hours to complete, and then I played it again and did it in about an hour and 20 minutes. And then the more you play it, you realise how shallow it actually is. And for that, it is going to go into Shiva's AI. I do think it's shouldn't be at the bottom of Shiva's AI. It's at the top of Shiva's AI, but it's very disappointing. Resident Evil Resistance, now this, I didn't play much of it. It did not keep my interest. I'm not a massive online player. I don't like to play online too much. So for this, it was very average. I'm going to put it in Shiva's AI, and I'll probably put it at the bottom. Now I know some people did enjoy it, and I suppose if I had some friends, no, if I had people to play it with, maybe I'd enjoy it more. But playing it on my own, it was about half an hour, 40 minutes of okay fun, and then it got very boring very quickly. Resident Evil 6. I don't know how I feel about this one. I think I've got it somewhere. I do have a copy of it, but I'm not sure where it is. Oh, I don't remember what I did with it. May the power of Christ compel you! This game is awful. Absolutely the most disappointing game of my entire life. Resident Evil 5, I played it so much, I loved it, and I was so excited for this. It had co-op again, so me and my buddy, we bought a copy on the day, we sat, played it, and Leon's campaign starts off okay. And I was like, okay, this is good. And then it went from okay to just dreadful. Absolutely, it's an absolute chore. It's an absolute chore. And for that, it's going bottom of the pile. Netflix show, you are worse than that. You are the worst anything ever made ever. Resident Evil Survivor 2, very forgettable game. Not very good really. I'm going to stick it next to Survivor here. It's a good laugh. It's very cheesy. It's pretty... you have a bit of fun in that way, but as a game it's not. It's nothing special. Now here's another one that people will maybe disagree with me on. Revelations 2. In my opinion, it's an incredible game. It's an absolute incredible game and one of the best in the Resident Evil series. Now, I know you're very mad at me, Resident Evil fan club, for the Operation Raccoon City and maybe a few other ones, but this one might really upset you, because I feel like it's just under Lord Barry Burton, very, very high on the Jill sandwich. Don't fight me, Resident Evil 4, it's going there. Yes, I know that it's gonna... I platinumed this, I finished it with Invisible Baddies. That was interesting. And it has the greatest line of all time. I'll play the clip. Now, Revelations 1 is also a very good game. I don't think it's as good as the second one, but I enjoyed the horror aspect to it. But again, I didn't like the bad guys. Kind of like Resident Evil 8. The Ooze characters, I didn't enjoy fighting them. And there's a few moments in there when it comes away from Jill and it goes to Pierce or Chris. I do feel like they're not as good, those bits. They're not quite as strong. But I enjoyed the horror aspect of Jill's. I enjoyed the atmosphere. Playing on the 3DS was brilliant. I did play it also on the PlayStation 4 and 3. And I do really like it. And it is going to go on the high single green herb. I do kind of feel bad because I think it could almost be Jill sandwich. But I think single green herb is a good place. And I thought I'd leave the most interesting one last, because it's close to which is the ultimate Lord Barry Burton for me. Resident Evil GameCube remake or Resident Evil 5. Now that sounds very dodgy to say that, but that's just the way my list is. And I don't think it's as good as Resident Evil 5, in my opinion. I don't have as much fun on it, I should say. I do think it's better, and I do think it is one of the greatest games of all time still. But Resi 5, more from my memories and my experiences playing it, takes the lead. Well, that's my list. Thank you very much for joining me. Thank you everybody for joining me on my Resident Evil tier list. I hope you enjoyed, and I just want to say a massive, massive thanks for your support. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share this with your friends, and pieces, juices, juices, pieces. Thank you. Thank God that Resident Evil tier list is over. What's that music? Resident Evil, retribution, domination, degeneration, the bad movies, Vendetta 2, the final chapter 2, Mila Joker, Paul Anderson, they ruined the movie. Resident is awful.